TV timeout without being blown away.
Let's go to work.
The new Hogs. Oh, Dillard with a crossover. Thurman again.
Hey, he's not going to miss two in a row.
Let's go to work.
That's a tray for Clint McDaniel.
Missouri must think they're playing 5 against 8.
Draws the front iron, and that's all. Dillard pulls up for 3.
And the Hogs continue to run wild.
Let me hear ya. Let me hear ya. Let me hear ya.
All right. Second game of a home and home with the Ole Miss team that has been playing really good basketball. I think Kermit's done a great job of getting there and getting those guys to play at a high level. Obviously with Tyree, who's playing really well, and of course you got a prolific scorer in Davis. Those guys present some pretty good challenges. I thought early in the year when we played them earlier, I thought we were playing pretty good up until the probably 25-minute mark, 26-minute mark, and then I thought we had a slew of turnovers, and that's the thing that keeps coming up, turnovers. And even in our game with Kentucky the other night, I thought we did a good job of taking care of it. So we've kind of identified the things that we're not doing well, the live ball turnovers. And so, but more importantly, we got to put 40 minutes together. The consistency that you got to have to win games in the SEC. You got to not only start, but you got to also finish as well. So, but it's also, obviously, we get a chance to celebrate the 25-year national championship team coming in, and so there's a lot of excitement, and I'm looking forward to seeing those guys. Some of them I hadn't seen in a while, and obviously they're part of our family, and so they get a chance to come and be celebrated. And so hopefully a great atmosphere, and we can do our part in going out and putting a 40-minute game together, defensively, offensively. Ole Miss is familiar with us, we're familiar with them, and so it's the second game, and we certainly want to play well at home.
Yeah, Mike, what do you expect from the atmosphere, and assuming it's going to be, I think Sky said he thinks it'll be electric, how could that help your team? It's going through a rough stretch. How could that help you guys on Saturday, maybe with energy and everything?
Well, I think, we've been in those kind of environments, and we got that environment here as well. But it'll be more special. I think it'll be more special when you get guys that obviously are responsible for a lot of the tradition. And I always tell our guys, that people, when they play you guys, they're not playing you guys. They're playing the national championship team, the tradition. And so to have those guys in the house, I'm sure our guys want to go out and play at a high level. But our fans are important in what we do, and so this time of the year you need every advantage you can get. So hopefully they're plus. I always say they're plus 8 or 10. Maybe they're plus 12.
Hello. It's TGIF. It's the A. It must be on the hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio as we come to you live here each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. on KDSJ 479, and we got a real big show. I mean, real packed show today. We're going to kick it off at 1:15, talking fastest 40 and talking recruiting. Arkansas has been out on the recruiting front real heavily over the last week and a half. We're going to catch up once again with our good buddy of AR Hoops and Hallville.net, Kevin McPherson. Talk to Kevin about just how things are going up to this point with Arkansas being so aggressively in recruiting mode. And also, too, at 1:30, we're going to have on our good buddy again, Fastest 40 Talk, Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. He'll come on and give us his game keys. And we saved the best for last. Tomorrow, Arkansas's 1994 team will be honored for their 25th anniversary from that special day in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're going to have on a very special guest from that ball club, starting point guard and all SEC legend, Corey Beck, be joining us at 1:45. We'll talk to Corey and just get his thoughts about that real special season in 1994 and what tomorrow will mean for him and his former brothers from that 1994 team. But real quick, I want to kick it over to my good buddy, my co-producer, Demetrius Johnson, demigod, but I call him my home guy. What's going on, bro?
Man, chilling. I'm chilling.
Wish this weather was a little better.
It is a little chilly out there. And, I mean, it's kind of weird because, what's over 72 hours ago, it was I was in short sleeve shirts, feeling good about myself. Weather has changed, and I want to make a note for all families and parties that are going to be heading out and about. And there's a lot of high school state tournaments. One in particular in Bentonville West, Fayetteville High will be playing tonight versus the Northside Grizzlies. That will be taking place at 5:30 last night. We had on assistant coach Tommy Deffenbaugh from Bentonville High School as they were able to pull off a 59-56 first round state playoff victory over the defending North Little Rock Charging Wildcats, and also to talk with Darryl Fimple. They were also knocked off and out of the defending title seat by the Fayetteville Lady Bulldogs as they were up in at 55-49 in overtime. Two really, really interesting games, but we're going to step away. And real quick, Demetrius, something's going on today over at the practice field that hadn't been done in a while. And I think Coach Mo and that staff and those players are really itching. Arkansas opens up spring football. Yes, I said spring football, March 1st. It's March Madness, and they open it up at 4:30. So we'll be out and about, trying to bring you all the latest on this upcoming football season. But Demetrius, kicking it off, all the haze in the barn, as they say. Name me 4 senior leaders that you think will have to have a major part in this season for Arkansas to have any type of bowl hope.
I can't necessarily give you 4 seniors, but I can give you 4 guys that I think will have to play a leadership role in some way, form, or fashion this year for the University of Arkansas. And I'm going to start with Sosa Agim. I think Sosa Agim is really going to have to be one of those anchors on the defensive line.
Good point.
That really have to be the spokesperson. He's going to have to be the Trey Flowers for this year's team. The next I'm going to go to Scooter Harris, Dijon. Dijon is going to be that man on the defense.
Right.
We've heard from multiple coaches about the amount of pressure and the amount of leadership they're going to expect from this guy, but I think he can more than handle it. From an offensive standpoint, because really when I was thinking, a lot of the leaders are going to be on defense, because I was going to say T.J. Smith. But I'm really trying to give some love to that offense. So somebody on that offensive side of the ball is really going to have to step up. And you know what? I'm going to go Devois Whaley. I say Devois is going to step up on offense, and he's going to be that vocal leader that's really been missing probably since the Allens left from the offensive side of the ball. We haven't really had a true quarterback leader. We haven't had the offensive player that says, hey, I don't care what's going on, give me the ball. Not to say necessarily that Devois can be that guy, but I think he can add a sense of leadership. He's been here probably the longest when you look at the offensive side of the ball. Probably him and O'Grady. And then you got Deion Stewart, that's another senior. So between those 3 guys, I'm really expecting one of those 3 to really come to the forefront of that leadership.
My 4, Sosa, Scooter Harris. I think Cheyenne O'Grady has a chance to step forward. And my final one would have to be Devois Whaley. I think Devois is going to be primed to have a good senior year. But at the same time, I'm also wanting to hedge a little bit offensively and go to a spot where it's been much maligned over the years, and that being the offensive line, and give Colton Jackson. I think Colton Jackson is going to be the bell cow on that offensive line. This kid has played a lot of SEC football at the left tackle spot. They improved as far as running the ball once Colton was inserted in a few games into last year. But I think Colton Jackson and Chad made a mention to the way Colton's taken care of his body, changed his body, and just feels real good about Colton being ready to take that next step. I think Colton's gonna have a great year, but there's so many more. Cameron Curl, he's a guy that's played a lot of football. Preston Guidry could be a guy that you really could lean on. I'm at the linebacker side. Grant Morgan comes to mind. I mean, this is a walk-on, but he's in his 3rd year playing extensive SEC football reps on Saturday. So he's a guy that, I think could really make a name for himself this year. Also, too, Chase Hayden, Demetrius, is another one that maybe could step in the absence of Rakeem Boyd. Also, too, Starkle, quarterback Starkle. Former quarterback, last name Starkle. I forgot I'll get his name. It's just Friday and I'll have it. I normally don't have such an absent-mindedness, but we'll take a quick break and get this thing started with Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops. But before that, we caught up with former 1994 shooting guard, small forward, Scotty Thurman. He met up with us here in the media yesterday and gives us a little recap of just what it means to have tomorrow in honor of that 1994 championship season. We'll talk with Scotty, let you hear what he had to say, and then we'll come back and have our good buddy Kevin McPherson of arhoops/hogville.net. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Tweet the anniversary
Well, I'm very, very excited to get an opportunity to connect with some of my teammates, guys who I've forged a lifelong bond with, to get a chance to see them honored and recognized for the accomplishments and for the things we were able to do while I played here. So for me, I'm more excited for them because I actually get an opportunity to live it every day. Being in the state, working here at the university, I get a chance to really, stick my chest out on a daily basis. So for those guys and their families that have the opportunity to experience that, I'm very, very excited for those guys.
They had one of these 2,000 home going ahead.
Yeah, Scott. Scotty, how much are you able to stay in touch with the guys from that team? And if there's some guys you maybe haven't talked to in a while, who would those be, and how good will it be to catch up with those guys?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I'm probably one of the only guys on that team that pretty much stays in consistent contact with all of them. I think Clint McDaniel and I are probably the only ones who haven't spoken maybe in the last couple of months, but I mean, I speak to Corliss pretty much weekly. He won't be able to be here at the time due to the fact that he's working, but talk to him all the time, talk to Dwight Stewart all the time. Corey Beck is here in town. I get an opportunity to visit with him quite often. Al Dillard texts me pretty much on a weekly basis, and we talk. Roger Crawford the same. So I've always prided myself on kind of being somewhat of a connection between all of us because obviously we've all grown up and gone our own separate ways, but I take great pride in remaining in contact with those guys.
25 years later, what's the bond like with the guys?
It's still close. I mean, we'll get an opportunity to connect, and even though all of us don't obviously live in this area, we remain in contact either through, social media or just texting or conversing over the phone. But I think it'll be very, very fun to share some of the stories and things that we remember from the past. But, I mean, it's just a bond that'll never be broken. Not very many teams get an opportunity to accomplish what we did. And we take great pride in the fact that not only we did it, but we did it together. No one really expected us to accomplish that feat. If you go back and look at when I came in as a freshman and the opportunity that we had coming in behind Todd Day and those guys, I think we were preseason like 48th. And it's amazing now to hear the narrative change somewhat, and everybody says, oh, that class was loaded, those guys were loaded. Well, it's kind of funny. Had we not won it, but we had been loaded. So I always go back and think about the things that Coach Richardson told us, guys always thinking that maybe this guy's not the greatest or that guy's not the greatest, but when you put a group together and they go together for one common goal and they fight together for it, what you can accomplish, and we were fortunate enough to do so.
Back with that, I guess they have one.
Welcome back. It's our March 1st edition. It's our A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, as we like to get you all ready for all Arkansas athletics that will be taking place during the weekend. But we're going to step this thing up. We're going to talk recruiting. Arkansas has been out on the recruiting front. The entire staff, as they understand, they got to go out and get grown men. And what better person to talk to about that than our good buddy of AR Hoops and Hogville.net, Kevin McPherson. K-Mac, welcome back.
Pat, this is one of my favorite times of the week is joining Pat Jenkins on the Hill.
Get up into it, Kevin. Arkansas, Coach Anderson stated several weeks ago in media availability, the question was, what was the main thing they had to do? And Coach said get older. They've been out, relentlessly recruiting over the last 2 or so weeks and really hitting that, older guys, JUCOs, prep schools. Talk to us about that and, where's this thing going with and who do you think and how they might finish up with the 4 spots, which I assume there's going to be some attrition at season's end?
Yeah. I think if you look at Mike Anderson's track record in recruiting JUCO, he's got an outstanding track record. When we hear all the time, that with junior college players, sometimes you only get them 2 years, and sometimes it takes that second year before they're ready to really contribute. And that's not been the case for the guys that he's landed. And you go back and look at Cody Clark, Jabril Durham. You look at Daryl Macon and Jalen Barford, both of them first-team All-SEC last year.
Right.
You looked at Mason Jones, being a double-figure scorer and one of the top 3 guys on the team this year in terms of production. They've had good success with it. But if you look at a lot of Arkansas's problems this year, a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's so many newcomers and so many young players and freshmen, and we're seeing these teams in the SEC that are more veteran, have more veteran presence. This time of year, when it becomes a grind and you're playing for postseason, we're seeing these other teams kind of do a better job of gutting out at the finish line than Arkansas. So I think one way to remedy that, Pat, is to get out there and get some men. Just like you said, you hit the JUCO ranks, you've had success with it. They're casting a wide net out there. We know they're looking at some bigs to come in, and they're looking at bigs not only in the high school level, but also in the JUCO level. So I think by the time this class is said and done, where it didn't look like coming into the year that this would be a big class outside of Justice Hill and maybe one or two more, I think we're going to see 4 more, potentially 5 more, but probably 4.
When you look at the JUCO ranks, you talk about the big guards. Jalen and Darrell were both in that 6'3" to 6'4" range. You look at Frenchie, a JUCO guy, and Arkansas just offered a little over 48 hours ago another 6'4" JUCO combo guard, and Ryan or Sean McNeil. Talk about those types of bodies, and is this the type of player that Arkansas really has to start going after, those bigger, stronger physical guards? Is that the the fit and recipe for a successful fastest 40?
Yeah, and I want fans to think about something. This isn't like a knee-jerk reaction all of a sudden. It seems like it is because here we are in the spring and it's getting late and we've seen Arkansas backslide. If you look at what Mike Anderson's done on these last 2 classes, 17 and 18 classes, he went out and got Khalil Garland. He went out and got Darius Hall. He went out and got Jordan Phillips. And for a variety of reasons, those things have not worked out. Right. So it's not like he just woke up and said, I need to get bigger on the perimeter on the wing. He's been working on that. He's just getting back out there and rolling the sleeves up. You look at Jalon Pipkins. You look at Tyson Jolly. You look at Sean McNeil, who just picked up an offer. He's at the JUCO Division II level, but still, 30 points a game. Had a 55-point game not that long ago. A guy that can just shoot the lights out, and he can also get to the basket. Frenchie, that's Clarence Nadolny. Now he's at the Woodstock Academy. He's actually a prep school guy.
Right.
But they all fit in that big guard, can do multiple things for you, and that's what you would have had with Khalil Garland. That's what Darius Hall was going to develop into, and showed a lot as a freshman. So I think they're getting back to what they knew that they wanted. But it's not just about replacing Gaffney at this point, Pat. They got to get some guys that can not only play outside but can get slash and get to that rim and do multiple things.
We talked about Raymond Hawkins. It's widely known he's in the process of setting up an official visit to the University of Arkansas, and also too made a note that he wants to sign on March 30th. With that being a special day, that's the day his father was, passed away. Talk about, if Arkansas is fortunate enough to get Raymond on campus. I'm of the belief you get him on campus, chances are really, really heightened as far as the Arkansas program. What's your take on Raymond? And, what are the percentages in Arkansas?
Yeah, I think Arkansas is really in a great – he's always said that Arkansas has been among the 2 or 3 schools to recruit him the hardest, Pat. He's really close to Scotty Thurman. He's built a good relationship there. He's impressed with how Thurman doesn't he doesn't blow sunshine his direction. Right. He tells him like it is, and he said he respects that. Obviously Reggie Chaney's from Finley Prep, so there's a little connection there. We talk about the fact that Hawkins actually has family in Arkansas. He's related to Marvin Delph, one of the famed triplets.
Oh, wow.
So, so there are some things there that benefit Arkansas. He's already taken an unofficial visit to Arizona State this past weekend. He's going to go to take an official visit to Buffalo, one of his offers, on March 8th through the 10th. Some of the other schools obviously involved are Mississippi State and DePaul. But I think Arkansas is in good shape, and I'd say the percentages are really good because he's always mentions Arkansas. When he's interviewed, he talks about the fact that Arkansas is a school he plans to visit. He's still working out those dates. But the fact that he's getting some of these other visits out early, like you said, he's kind of looking toward late March on making a decision. That if you're Arkansas, you probably want to be the last one to get him in and hopefully sew that up.
Talking with Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hogville.net. Kevin covers all of recruiting for us here on OTH. Kevin, a guy that I think Arkansas and fans, are going to hear a little bit more about. And you and I have heard a lot about him. Jalen McCrary. He's a young man, 6'8", real physical bucket getter out of the state of Georgia. Talk about Jalen and, how could he fit in if Arkansas ends up? I know TJ Cleveland's his chief recruiter, but talk about, where Jalen would fit in if he is one of the guys to fill one of those 4 spots that we talked about.
Yeah, he's from the Atlanta area. I got to see him play with Game Elite Gold on the Adidas circuit this past spring and summer. 6'8" guy. Really needed to work on his face-up game and perimeter game. He's done that, but he's quick, he's explosive, and he's strong. And he's like you said, he's from the Atlanta area. He's playing at Early College High School, which is a prep school in South Carolina, and they play a national schedule, and he's shown well. You know, TJ Cleveland's been out to see him, and you know, it was odd the first couple of times Cleveland had planned to go see him. Something came up, and it didn't work out, but he has gotten to see him. And, you know, Arkansas staying in touch with him, and he may still have some work to do, but DePaul offered him. Pittsburgh's on him. I know Georgia Tech, he took an unofficial visit there a couple of months ago, but, you know, and he's had an offer from Xavier. So he's got, you know, he's got schools after him, and I think that's a guy that Arkansas is going to keep tabs on, and we'll see where that goes. But, yeah, Jalen McCreary's been in their wheelhouse for a while.
Arkansas is going to be honoring the 1994 National Championship Ball Club at halftime of tomorrow's ball game there in Bud Walton versus Ole Miss. You know, Kevin, when you look back to that time in Arkansas basketball, what sticks out to you the most about that era?
Oh, that era. I tell you what, when you could stick your chest out and keep your head up, and you could walk anywhere, you could be traveling and get in another state, and someone sees that Arkansas gear on you, and they don't necessarily bow, but they nod, and that's respect.
Right.
It's called walking into a room anywhere and getting that respect. Arkansas was among the elite. There's no doubt about it. Arkansas was cresting at that time. I mean, you're talking about a handful of schools and Arkansas was in that conversation every year, being at the top. I mean, you're talking 3 Final Fours in 6 years, 2 national title games, 5 Sweet 16 in about a 7-year span. So I mean, that was a golden. Those were the salad days, Pat. I mean, it was special around here.
Well, as always, that sounds like Nolan Richardson quote to me, but that's for another show. But want to thank you for taking time out today on the Hill. I'll catch you tomorrow at the game. Have a safe trip up and have a blessed one, my man.
Oh, good. Always good to be with you, Pat. See you tomorrow.
All right. That was Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hallville.net giving us the lowdown on a lot of big-time recruiting. Arkansas, as they say, going out and trying to find a few good men, really 4 good men to bring into this program, because I think they're just a few pieces away from getting this fastest 40 to be a high-level fastest 40. But we're going to step away real quick. Caught up with Arkansas coach Mike Neighbors following their disappointing 73-67 loss at home to the Missouri Lady Tigers. Caught up with Mike, and then we're going to continue fastest 40 with Scotty Borderland. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Had a lot of family here from growing up back in the church days. That sounds like the second verse, same hymnal. You know, I've said this so many times this year, but I could not be more proud of our group for playing against a team that's going to be in the NCAA tournament, that's going to be better than top half seed. I wouldn't want to see Missouri in our bracket. But we keep finding ways. You know, 51 points and a half on those guys is hard to do. And most groups would give up. This group doesn't. They just keep coming at it, and they're talking about already going to A&M, and couldn't be more proud of them and for them.
So what was going on there in the first half with both teams? Was it just missing shots?
Here's what happens. When you get as much film out on each other as is out, look at all the scores in our league tonight. You know what's coming. You give Todd Schaefer 14 games of film and you give their staff 14 games of film, there are no secrets. So it's the adjustments. And even if you made a few adjustments, it's just so hard. You know, I thought the difference in their game was Jordan Roundtree getting off to a great start. When we decided to do what we were doing with Sophie, I thought she hit some big shots in the first half, and we'll probably keep our streak alive. It seems like every week whoever we play is SEC Player of the Week, so good chance that could happen again. But I thought she was key. I think it's a product of each other knowing each other. We play these guys twice every year. There's no secrets. Jalen Mason knows what Sophie's going to do before she does it, and that's why she does a great job on her. We play each other so much. And then you make a few adjustments at halftime, and it's more entertaining. I will not rewatch the first half, but I'll watch the second half just for fun sometime this summer. That had to be fun to watch. I don't know. Wasn't much fun to coach in, but.
Third quarter, what was different for y'all? And then
Movement.
Fourth quarter, what was different for them?
Movement for us. We we talked about if you stand in one spot against these guys, you're never going to get a good shot. And we just put in a little simple thing at halftime where we run an exchange with Chelsea and Jalen and Allen, Lex on that side, and we got better shots. And we made a few more. I thought we missed a couple that we normally make too. So that's a product of fatigue. Chelsea had to play 40 minutes tonight. Mal played a whole bunch of minutes. But the pace in the first half was so slow. I don't know how many times they got the shot clock under 10, but a bunch. So it wasn't your normal pace game. But, we needed to be able to turn their 21 turnovers into more than 11 points. I'm looking at that, and that's a frustration thing because if we turn somebody over 21 times, it's normally 21 points. And tonight it was only 11. So, we've got to continue to look for the good things that we do, and there's a lot of them to look for tonight.
This last home game for these seniors, how would you sum up each of their careers here at Arkansas?
Well, we have every intention of going down and winning the SEC tournament next week. We really do. We'll see what happens. But if not, I still think we're going to have a home game. I know our administration is very supportive of the postseason. There's never been a team above 500 in a Power 5 conference not invited to the NIT. We're going to be above 500, obviously. Our RPI is going to be in the top 100. I think we're going to do everything we can do to get another home game back here, not only for those kids but for our fans. Our fans really came out this year. It was cold outside. It was an 8 o'clock tip. All the people that use it, all the excuses you normally lose, we still had a good crowd. And our people that support us, our Chalk Talk was as full as it's been all year. So the people that have supported us continue to support us all the way through. So we're going to do everything we can do to get a home game back. And, we'll go down and get A&M and see what happens. There's been 7 and 9 teams, get in the past. It's a crazy year in the country. There's going to be the NCAA committee's got their work cut out for them. Let's give them something to talk about. I think A&M won tonight, didn't they? They beat Kentucky. So, you beat those guys, that's another marquee win. We do not have a bad loss on our schedule. You look at our resume, we don't have a bad loss. We don't have a lot of quality wins, but we don't have a bad loss. And, we'll see what happens. I do not begin to predict what this team's capable of because I still tell you we haven't played as good as we could play.
Welcome back. It's our Friday edition. It's our A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, the Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, and our newest sponsor, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. But now, on to more Fastest 40, Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Scotty, welcome back to OTH.
What's happening, man? How are y'all?
Doing real good, but today it's a busy day. Football 4:30, but let's get off into a little basketball talk. Coach Anderson and this team, Scotty, they have to get off this night. A lot of bad vibes. It has to change. 6 consecutive losses. What's the big key that this team has to achieve in tomorrow's big home game? They hadn't been able to take care of home court, but what do they have to do to get off this 0-6 in the second half?
Yeah, I think when Arkansas and Ole Miss met the first time, I think I wrote a little bit about Breein Tyree and Terrence Davis. Terrence Davis really likes – he's almost like Quindary Weatherspoon. Like he really enjoys playing Arkansas, especially in Fayetteville. But Breein Tyree's playing really well too. And the big thing is, I kind of wrote about it in my column yesterday, kind of going over the good, bad, and ugly from February. Arkansas gave up 41% from the three-point line in February. That's really bad. Oh, wow. You've got to change that. And Breein Tyree and Terrence Davis and even the Schuler kid, really good on the perimeter. So you got to limit those guys, run them off the line. And, Mike says you got to build the wall in the lane, not let things easy at the rim either.
Right.
I think you got to try to limit those guys as best you can. And, as always, you got to take care of the ball. I think Mike kind of pointed to that yesterday. He said they've kind of pinpointed the things that they're not doing well, and taking care of the ball is definitely one of their soft spots right now.
When you look at this Mississippi basketball team, it's going to be quite important that this Arkansas team keeps Ole Miss off the free throw line, Scotty. There's at least 8 guys on that ball club that are shooting 70% or better from the free throw line. How important is this going to be that this game comes down to that free throw line and Arkansas having to keep Ole Miss off of it?
Yeah, I mean, first things first. Like Dan's got to stay out of foul trouble. Ole Miss is big. I can't pronounce. Kind of like Mike, I can't pronounce his last name, but he had a good day when they played in Oxford, kind of in the pick and roll game. You can't put those guys on the line, man, and you got to defend and kind of try to create some havoc without fouling. I mean, that's obviously a lot easier said than done. This Arkansas team can be a little bit handsy defensively, anyway. So, yeah, just the mark of a good shooter is you can be a really good 3-point shooter, but I mean, if you're pretty good for the perimeter, it's almost a given that you're pretty good at the free throw line too. So, you got aggressive guards kind of in front of you, and got to keep them in check and definitely keep them off the line.
There's a crazy stat here over the last few games of how this team performs when Daniel Gafford's on the bench. You texted me a few days ago with a stat that I thought was real astonishing. Can you explain to our listeners and viewers, how much better Arkansas might be in the future, once Daniel moves on? Because, so many people are under the assumption the sky will be falling this time next year. But explain to the listeners, there's a little bit more into that than maybe on the surface.
Yeah, so when Dan went out with a couple of fouls pretty early against Kentucky, Arkansas stayed in the game and actually extended its lead, if I'm not mistaken, with him on the bench. And we've seen that, a couple of times. I think Texas Tech was one example, and there are a couple more examples that I'm forgetting at the moment. But we've seen it happen several times this year, where Dan goes to the bench with foul trouble, and Arkansas kind of either keeps the lead that it has or extends it a little bit. And at Kentucky, I texted you that Arkansas outscored Kentucky 30-27 when Dan was on the bench. So they definitely held their own without him. And part of that was, and I wrote it in my column too, Gabe's defensive anticipation the last 3 games has been pretty good. He's really good at jumping entry passes, knocking the ball free. Arkansas's defensive turnover rate is really, really good, when Gabe's on the floor the last 3 games. And Arkansas's defensive turnover rate when Dan's off the floor is higher than when he's on the floor. I think a little bit has to do with Gabe and Adrio and some of those guys kind of taking chances and taking some of those defensive gambles, knocking the ball away and kind of kick-starting the break. Definitely don't think that they're a better team with Dan off the floor, but the guys I think have been able to hold their own a little bit when he's had to sit.
Definitely college basketball is the year of the point guard and really the guard. Arkansas faces a lot of real mature, physical type of guards. With that being said, Jalen Harris is a guy that started out the year, one of the nation's elite assist leaders, but it seems to me over the course of this conference season, it just seems to be he's regressed, each, like week by week. Tuesday, I think, was maybe the culmination of just the disrespect from defenses toward his offensive game. What can Arkansas do to mask Jalen offensively? Because, there's a liability at point guard, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Mike and his staff have kind of started working toward fixing that problem a little bit by putting Desi in the lineup. Desi is also a very capable ball handler, and we talked earlier in the year about potentially going to a 4-guard lineup, and I had the idea that maybe you put Desi alongside Jalen, and maybe you take a little bit of the ball handling pressure and all the playmaking pressure off of Jalen, and you give Desi a little bit of, not all of it, but a little bit of it. He's capable. You've seen what he's done. He's averaging 11 points on 50% from the floor in his 2 starts in the last week. I just did my shot charts on Jalen for February. He was 8 of 28 in the paint, and you combine that with one of 16 from 3-point range. It's not great, and his assist numbers are down. I think he's playing a little bit outside of himself. And teams are obviously they're gonna give away. They're gonna give him all the 3-point shots he wants. I think it's a little bit on him to not settle for those shots, even if he is wide open, and maybe attack and dish once the defense kind of draws to him. Because whether he's 8 of 28 in the lane or not, when a guard gets in the lane, you're going to attract help, and that gives you some opportunities to dump off to Dan or any of the forwards you got on the floor.
Boy, as always, my man, solid money on time. And thanks for taking time out, Scotty, here on the Hill.
Yeah, you bet.
And that was Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and we're going to continue on. It's the big fish. One of the 1994, the starting point guard. Corey Beck's up next, but we caught up with the Mizzou head coach, Coach Pagian, and she's going to let you know just how she felt about Coach Neighbors, and it's what a big win for her team. And then we'll come back and talk to one of the 1994, really, Demetrius, I'd have to call Corey the heart and soul of this championship team. We'll speak with CB. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Well, thanks for coming out. I'll say this. Mike Neighbors and his staff has done an unbelievable job with this team. They've improved so much throughout the course of the year. I think when you've got so many new players, it takes a while to just, get comfortable in your roles and in the system. And Arkansas is a much different team than they were a month ago, and I think that's a testament to Mike and his staff and these players for just continuing to work. And we knew. I watched it on film. I've watched all their games since the last time we played them, and I knew it was going to be a dogfight. I love how hard they play. I love how they're fearless. They're an awfully talented team, and I think Mike and his staff and these players deserve a lot of credit. Obviously, I'm proud of our kids. I thought, didn't shoot the ball particularly well in that first half. Did a much better job. I thought Sierra Porter was really big for us in the second half. She had a couple 3-point plays for us, hit our free throws down the stretch. I thought we did a nice job rebounding. There's a number of areas that I don't know that I was particularly pleased with our team, but this time of the year in the SEC, winning's hard, and winning on the road's really hard, and proud of our girls for finding a way to get it done in that fourth quarter.
I think the Razorbacks got within 4-6 times there in the fourth quarter, but your players just kept responding. How are they able to do that?
Yeah, it just seemed like it was big shot after big shot, and it was just going back and forth. And like I said, I've watched Arkansas so many of their games, and they don't quit. I mean, they're going to come back and answer every shot you make, and they're relentless. But I just, it became a little bit of a chess match, and players stepping up on both sides.
Neither team shot particularly well in the first half, but Arkansas was at like 20% or something like that. What was...
Welcome back. It's our March 1st edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition, and tomorrow there's going to be a special ceremony taking place at Bud Walton Arena, one that a lot of people really, really enjoyed 25 years ago, 1994, Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a day that Arkansas became the king of the hill, or the hog on the hill, and the leader in heart and soul. I've always felt that basketball team was none other than Corey Beck, and so we'd catch up with the SEC legend and welcome him to the hill. Welcome up, CB. What's going on?
Thank you, Pat. Everything's good. Just a blessed brother. No complaints at all.
You talk
living
about
the dream. Living the dream.
Talking about tomorrow, Corey, I know you guys are going to be getting together this evening for the start of what will be just a lifelong 24-hour period that you guys will be able to go back and reminisce what you guys did 25 years ago. Talk about how special that day, even today, means to you, Corey.
It means a lot, man. We got together yesterday, man. Some of the guys, and we went over and watched We went over and had lunch at Bonefish Grill and Rogers, and then we all went over to my daughter's game to watch Fayetteville High School play in the tournament. And then we went back to the hotel last night, kind of hung out, and we sat in the lobby, and we all kind of reminisced and told our own stories of the journey that we was a part of, and how blessed we felt that we was able to be amongst friends, and just how Coach put together a team that was almost unbelievable, because there was no selfish bone on that team. Everybody played to have fun, and we just enjoyed each other on and off the court.
You leave that that night in New Jersey, your initial season, make it to the Sweet 16. North Carolina knocks you guys out. And I remember it like it was yesterday, Corey. I think I saw you out and about town the following week, and your message was, "We're going to work today, Pat." And you instantly started getting the guys organized. You start going into hyperbuilding to play pickup. What motivated you, Corey, to be that leader? Because, like I said, you were the rock of that team, and I don't think had you not got that stuff started in the summertime, all this would. But what led that? What was your motivation behind that?
Well, for me, it was I had to change my attitude from high school and junior college. I was a scorer. I looked at the team we had. We had a team full of scorers. We had no one to lead us. And so it was important for me to figure out my role. The best way for me to stay on the court was to lead this team and or to be one of the leaders, I'll say, because we had plenty of leaders. And, it was a way that I had to go about it. I had to show the guys that I was willing to work hard every day, and if they took the same attitude that I was going to take, that we could, get back to where the place where we just got beat, because we all watched the rest of the tournament after we got beat in the Sweet 16, and I looked around the room and we all was teary-eyed. So not wanting to experience that feeling again, I said, well, look, starting at this next day, we're going to get back to work, and we're going to work up until the championship game, and we're going to bring it to Arkansas. So that was one of the directions that we all wanted to go in, and we joined hands and fought that battle together.
I want you to be a coach. You coach summer ball, but go to the bench, Corey, and describe the lineup, that starting five, in your words. In one simple word: Dwight, Scotty, Corliss, and Clint McDaniel, and yourself. Just describe that lineup in one simple word for each player.
Well, fearless. I think when it comes to the coaching staff that we had, they installed a work ethic in us that was unbeatable. And it was a lot of teams that gave us their best shot, and some teams even beat us, but it wasn't that many. And we always knew if a team went up on us 10, 15 points, that wasn't enough for it to beat us. So with that attitude, it was tough to beat us, because we knew if we kept hammering away, just like cutting a tree down, you keep bits and pieces, not overdoing it, just keep hammering away, we'll get back into whatever game. And we always, everybody from down the last guy on the bench to the trainers, everybody had the attitude, for those 3 years that I was here, that I saw. And it was a wonderful feeling, because, like I said, you've seen it from the guys on the floor, you've seen it from the bench, the equipment guys, the trainers, the secretaries in the office. I mean, it just trickled down, man, and we joined together to accomplish one goal, and that was to win the gold ball. And thank God, we was able to pull off for one of those years.
Sunday, I was up one morning listening to the sports reporters. It was a Sunday, April 3rd, 1994. I'll never forget it. You guys are sitting in the hotel, and you hear the sports reporters say it's going to come down to the smarter team's going to win this game. Also, too, you guys, a lot of people may not know, Corey, you guys didn't have the same type of shoot-around time that Duke had. I think there was some mix-ups. You guys had less than about 10 minutes. Talk about that experience.
Well, the thing about Nolan Richardson is this guy can motivate you to play against anybody. And the first few that he put on the fire was telling us we're not the smart team. We're not supposed to win. And that was spread across the TV channels and radios. And then the next thing was we went to shoot around that morning, and we only had about 10 seconds on the clock. So yeah, that was more fuel that Coach Richardson put on the fire for us, and man, he had the engine so steam ready to play that day. It was incredible. But stuff like that, man, it really didn't bother me because I didn't care what was in front of us that day. I knew the only thing I wanted was a piece of Duke, and could nothing block that. Whatever was for us, it was going to be for us. God had already mapped that out, and it was for us just to go out and give it our best shot, and we did it.
A topic that's come up each and every year, and I'm real passionate about, is Nolan Richardson Court. Being an African-American host here, as I sit here each and every day, Nolan was that figure, that awesome figure that every African-American young boy. Talk about that, Corey, on what it meant to play for Nolan, being that strong African-American figure. And lastly, how good would it feel? And we've talked about that, his name being on that court. Would it be, and special to you, to watch your coach get what's I believe to be long overdue and have that court in Bud Walton Arena named for all of his accomplishments?
Well, first of all, me coming here, I was a kid when I first got here, and I transitioned to a young man in over 3 years, and I didn't know what it meant really to be a strong brother, a strong black man, and living in America. But I learned it real fast. Like, you have to be mentally, physically dealing with this sport. You have to know what you want, and you have to stay prayerful. Coach Richardson was a guy that his body language told a story for him. He demanded respect, and he gave respect on and off the floor. So for me, it was a little bittersweet until I was able to grow as a person and understood coach's direction, as coach's standpoint on a lot of different situations dealing with the world back then. But I gained to respect him, and to this day we're real good friends. And I've been blessed to know him. I was still so blessed to be a part of his legacy, and I thought that he done wonderful things for the state of Arkansas. Dealing with the court situation, me growing up, I was always a Memphis State fan, and dreamed of playing for the Tigers one day, until one of my superstars that I watched play, Ron Heary, decided to come over here and play ball. And I said, well, what's going on over in Arkansas? So then I ran into Coach Richardson and Coach Egger, Mike Anderson, and, we began to talk. And I said, well, I like Arkansas. So once I got here, I learned of the situation that Coach dealt with when he first got here, and all the struggles he had to overcome dealing with losing his daughter and things like that, and still had to win basketball games. People still wanted him to win. They really didn't care about the off-the-court situations, and you got to be a strong man. I don't care what to be able to deal with a situation when you lose one of your kids. I mean, first of all, you want, as a parent, you want your kids to be burying you, not to be burying them one day. Right. So just for him to overcome that situation and able to get back to the court and start back winning a basketball game was a blessing. I thought it would be tough losing the group that Todd, Lee, Oliver had, and I thought the world figured that his winning streak was over with. But he brought in me, Dwight, Corliss, Scotty, Clint, and I don't know how he was able to put a group like that together. It was super amazing. And then the following year after that, he brought in a couple of 7-footers to help us out. Al Dillard, great players to surround that core group. And if you ask the coach to do that these days, it was probably impossible to put together a team like that. But some kind of way he did it, and I don't think Arkansas have ever been in a situation to where we won that many basketball games, because
I agree.
I looked at the University of Arkansas then like we were Duke, Carolina, like we was gonna stay in that elite group of schools. And then once all the bickering came about with Coach, and once he got fired, and they brought in a couple more coaches, and people can see it's tough to win basketball games.
Right.
The guy that we had on the throne was winning us games, but we wasn't willing to be patient with him. So now, we had to go through those years of struggling because we figured the grass was greener on the other side, and it wasn't.
Good point.
It wasn't. It wasn't. So we got Mike in here now, and we're finally giving Mike a chance to put us a team together. I think we got a young group right now, and I'm a little bit off the subject, but I'm gonna get back to that. But we got a young group here, and a lot of people don't think we're playing up to the status that we should be playing at. But
right.
These young guys will grow. They will grow, and once you put some junior college players around them, they will get stronger physically and mentally. And you'll start to see it eventually on the court. But we got to continue to support Mike and support these guys and to help, because if we're talking about getting back to the championship days, we all have to help.
Right.
We just can't point fingers at the coaching staff. But when we see these guys around town, hello, how you doing? How's school? Great job on the court. La 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 la. I mean, we got to come together like that.
Well,
and
Corey,
back to the court.
Go ahead. We got about a minute left.
Okay, back to the court situation. There's no question that his name should be on that court. Should have been on the court.
Right.
Why not? Why not? I've been to a lot of gyms, and the coaches have never came closest because Richardson's record, and
right.
Their name is on the court. So
let's get it done.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, CB, as always, man, look forward to catching up with you. I know there's some little goings-ons tomorrow night that we might be attending at the same time. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time. Tell Kariah, PDP, and get that number 2 versus Northside, all right? But as always, my brother, thanks for taking time out on the hill.
No doubt. Love. You guys enjoy.
All right.
All right.
That was Corey Beck, SEC legend, point guard to the 1994 national champ, also the 1995 national runner-up team. Was, like I said, to this day, Demetrius, the heart and soul, and that's going to